This Bugatti isn't what you think, and that's the problem. Matt Armstrong is helping a friend fix a crashed Bugatti Chiron, but Bugatti won't sell him parts. They won't authorize the repair. They've essentially told him the car is worthless unless they control it. But here's what they're not saying. The parts Matt needs. Most of them aren't even Bugatti parts. They're Audi, they're BMW. They're VW Group components with a bug prefix stamped on them and a price tag multiplied by 10. Bugatti knows this. They've always known this. And Matt's rebuild is about to prove it to the world. Let's start with the right to repair laws. But several US states, right to repair laws are already on the books. Massachusetts, California. The EU is moving aggressively on this. Australia has active legislation. These laws say that if you own a product, you have the right to repair it. You have the right to source parts. You have the right to choose your own repair facility. Bugatti's refusal to sell parts directly violates these principles. Now, they'll argue this is about safety. They'll say a rebuilt Chiron doesn't meet their standards. They'll claim liability issues, but here's where their argument starts to crumble. Because the components they're protecting aren't actually exclusive, and the safety standards they're citing, they're already meeting them with parts from other manufacturers. This is a multi-million-dollar hypercar built with parts you'd never expect. Door handles, window regulators, suspension sensors, brake calipers, HVAC components, even the steering column. Thousands of parts sourced directly from VW Group suppliers. Matt's documented this. He's shown the part numbers. He's traced the supply chain. And every time he does, the gap between Bugatti's mystique and their manufacturing reality gets a little wider. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with shared parts. Most manufacturers do this. It's efficient. It's cost-effective. Platform sharing is standard practice across the industry, but most manufacturers don't charge hypercar prices for Volkswagen components. And most manufacturers don't refuse to sell you parts when your car is damaged. Bugatti does both. Here's the model they're protecting. Bugatti and Ferrari both operate on artificial scarcity. They control who buys the car. They control who services the car. They control the parts supply. They control the resale market. It's the De Beers model applied to automobiles. Diamonds aren't actually rare. De Beers made them rare by controlling supply. Bugatti parts aren't actually exclusive. Bugatti makes them exclusive by refusing to sell them. The result? Inflated values, manufactured prestige, and a customer base that accepts these restrictions because they believe they're buying something genuinely unique. But when a Bugatti Chiron shares an airbag with an Audi Q7, what exactly are you buying? You're buying the story, you're buying the control, you're buying access to a closed ecosystem. And when someone like Matt threatens that ecosystem by proving these cars can be rebuilt outside official channels, the manufacturer has a problem. Now let's talk about those airbags. Bugatti talks about perfection, hand-built engineering, bespoke hypercar DNA, but when Matt pulled the damaged interior, he found something fascinating. Standard Audi airbags, not modified, not re-engineered. The same units you'd find in an A8 or Q7. Same supplier, same part, different label. Now here's where Bugatti's position falls apart completely. They're refusing to sell Matt replacement parts. They claim safety. They claim liability. They claim the car won't meet their standards if he rebuilds it, but they're using off-the-shelf safety equipment from another manufacturer. They're using OEM parts from dozens of other suppliers, and those parts are available through normal channels for other vehicles. So the safety argument collapses. If these components are safe in an Audi, they're safe in a Bugatti. If Matt can source an identical airbag from the original supplier, there's no safety differential. So which is it? Is the Audi airbag safe enough for $1 million hypercar, or isn't it? Because if it is, then Matt should be able to source one. And if it isn't, Bugatti's been selling unsafe cars. They can't have it both ways. What Bugatti is really protecting isn't safety, it's control. Let's talk about what Bugatti actually knows. They know this rebuild will work. They know Matt has the skills, the resources, and the documentation to restore this car to functional condition. They've seen his other builds, they know his track record. But here's the issue from their perspective. If Matt succeeds, he proves the car isn't special. He proves it can be repaired outside their ecosystem. He proves the parts aren't unique. He proves the mystique is manufactured. And if he takes it to a track and it performs exactly like an official Bugatti, the brand takes damage. Because every future customer will ask the question Bugatti doesn't want them to ask. What am I actually paying for? This is where the value model breaks down. A crashed Bugatti loses most of its value instantly, not because it's unrepairable, but because Bugatti won't authorize the repair. Matt paid millions for this car. In its current state, according to Bugatti, it's worth almost nothing. It should be scrapped. It should be crushed. It should disappear. But why? The chassis is intact. The engine can be rebuilt. The damaged components can be replaced. Matt's proven this with multiple supercars before. The only reason this car is worthless is because Bugatti says it is. They cannot stand by the finished product. They won't certify it. They won't warranty it. They won't recognize it as a legitimate Chiron. And that position only makes sense if their entire value proposition is based on control, not engineering. If the engineering was truly special, a rebuilt car would still be special. If the parts were truly unique, Matt couldn't source alternatives. But the engineering isn't special. If the parts were truly unique, Matt couldn't source alternatives. But the engineering isn't special. The parts aren't unique, and Bugatti knows it. If this rebuild works, it doesn't just fix a car, it damages a brand. That's the calculation Bugatti is making right now. If Matt finishes this build and the car performs flawlessly, every crashed Chiron suddenly has value. Every wealthy owner who's been told their car is a total loss now has questions. Every future buyer now understands the parts aren't as exclusive as the price suggests. The scarcity model collapses. And once that model collapses, Bugatti has to compete on actual engineering merit. They have to justify their prices with performance, not exclusivity. They have to let customers own their cars, not lease them from a gatekeeper. This is penny wise, pound foolish. By fighting this rebuild, Bugatti draws attention to exactly what they want to hide. By refusing parts, they prove the parts exist elsewhere. By claiming safety, they highlight their use of standard components. Matt has shown a light where hypercar manufacturers don't want you to look, and now millions of people are watching. This isn't about one Bugatti, this is about who controls a car after you buy it. Bugatti wants you to believe you're purchasing a masterpiece, hand-built, irreplaceable, worth every penny of the multi-million-dollar price tag. But what you're actually purchasing is access to an ecosystem, and that access ends the moment something goes wrong. The parts are interchangeable. The components are shared, the mystique is manufactured, and when someone proves that publicly, the entire model is at risk. Right to repair legislation is coming. Customers are asking questions. Enthusiasts like Matt are documenting everything. Bugatti is on the wrong side of the safety argument. They're on the wrong side of the legal argument. They're on the wrong side of the ownership argument. And if this rebuild succeeds, they'll be on the wrong side of the value argument too. The real question isn't whether Matt can rebuild this Chiron, it's whether Bugatti can survive what happens when he does. Because once the emperor has no clothes, you can't pretend the outfit was worth millions. Once buyers realize they're paying for artificial scarcity instead of genuine exclusivity, the entire hypercar market shifts. Other manufacturers are watching this too. Lamborghini, Koenigsegg, Pagani, they all use the same playbook, and if Bugatti loses this fight, they all lose.